Welcome everyone to the Mad Army Podcast episode 45 is what we're talking about, is Season 7, the Royal Rumble, the final one of this series. We are officially on the road to WrestleMania. Of course, I'm recording this after Monday Night Raw, so there's a little bit of what I can talk about, depending on what's there or available for me to discuss. We'll see. But yeah, let's jump right into it. I'm split screening here. I've got like the whole card in front of me, and then at the same time I gotta get the whole listings for the Rumble match itself, because there's a few notes I want to talk about on that one. Let's see though. Okay, so the first match started off Kevin Draco versus Samoa Joe. I can't lie, I originally had the Hardcore Championship kicking off the show. I had somebody pitch me the idea to have a feud match to kick off. That way you get something different, people can kind of get engaged, but I kind of didn't like that idea only because it felt like there was no weight to it. You gotta establish. I love the ideas, but it's like you have to establish the reasoning of why the match happens, especially on short notice like this. You gotta build a feud really quickly. And the guy pitched out something for Kevin Draco. He said, "I think Draco should have something to do." I pondered that. I thought it made sense because Draco seems like kind of the guy that is doing nothing after falling off the horse by losing the WWE title match. So this way it gives him something to do and keeps his momentum going. And I got thinking, okay, how about Draco and Joe? Joe can work. They have a long-standing history, Joe injuring Kevin Draco twice. Joe, I believe, beat Draco the last time, so Joe can throw out a challenge because both are seeking to get the approval of Tyler Wolf, the GM of SmackDown. So they both want to try to look good in an attempt to be picked for the Elimination Chamber matches. So of course both of them agree to fight each other, and they brutalize each other. I don't think this was a bad match, but I don't think it was a fantastic one. It was still good and it was still fun. Joe locked in the Coquina clutch once, I think. Draco hit him with a ton of finishers to keep Joe looking strong and a beast who powers out of everything. So it was good back and forth. I really enjoyed the match, and it was a good way to kick off the show. Draco ultimately picked up the win, and he looked much better with the momentum on his side. Alright, so match number 2. Road Killer versus Orton versus Cole Lee versus Adrian Galerto. So, there's some little bit of stuff that went into this. Road Killer came in with the championship. Now, of course, if you have seen Monday Night Raw and the Royal Rumble, you know that he retained. This was not going to be the case in my original plans. Also, by the way, the first match, I think I had it originally Bray Wyatt versus Kane. And Raymond Cruz was going to attack him there, but that didn't happen. That's the point. Road Killer walks in as champion. I was going to have him lose, and I was originally planning Orton to become a 7-time hardcore champion then and there. I thought that would officially have Orton stand alone with the record. Road Killer falls after breaking Harvey's record for most episodes as hardcore champion. And I wanted Cole Lee there just to throw in a wild card. Same with Galerto, both to give them something to do, because I really don't like keeping people in limbo. I want to give people as many opportunities as we can, especially since we are in the final home stretch here. We're quite literally on the home stretch for the end of the series. So, I'm sorry. First off, I want to apologize if my voice is in and out, because I have this habit of taking it away from my face. So I apologize for that if the audio's in and out. I just wanted to make that little remark because I realized I was bringing the mic farther and farther away from my face. So I apologize if the audio is in and out. So I'll try to get closer to it, if that helps. if I just clap my hands? Whatever. Who cares? We're moving on. So Road Killer retained. I wish I could tell you the reason why I did it. The logic was, how would I best phrase it? I thought it was best because I could use it in the storyline for Raw, and I guess I could talk about it for Raw. So if you don't want to be spoiled on Monday Night Raw, just skip ahead or something, or go watch Raw. But basically, I thought that it would be a good way, because here's the thing: Hall of Famers, my rule is that they have to get agreements from the champions. But in the case of Slim Reaper, as I'll probably go in more in depth on it later on, Slim Reaper returns, and he basically uses Road Killer's Hardcore Championship as a bargaining chip to get a title match. Like, hey, listen, we have to put something up. If they're putting the tag team titles up, we have to put your Hardcore Championship up on Monday Night Raw. Let's do it. Kind of like putting that there for him. So there's that. That's ultimately why I went with Road Killer. He keeps the championship on Raw, of course, so his reign pours on as we get closer to Elimination Chamber. And yeah, it was a good match. I think a little bit longer than what I wanted to, if I'm thinking of the matches correctly, because I think I'm blurring different matches. I thought it was fun, good, just a little bit lengthy. Matchup number 3, not the hardcore, European/United States Championship. It's the same title. It was the champion Harvey at 18 episodes in his reign, going up against Braden McLaughlin. So, this plan has been going on since, I want to say, SummerSlam. Braden was, I talked with Harvey, and we kind of came up with this plan. He wanted to come back. No, actually it was before SummerSlam. The official decision wasn't that far ahead. Before SummerSlam, he wanted to come back and have a little bit of a run. If he's coming back to beat Armstrong, ultimately beat Armstrong at SummerSlam, and he kind of, before SummerSlam, he pitched the idea of winning the United States Championship over Jeff Sanders at Clash of Champions. Throughout his whole reign, I approved it, only for a deal right back. Like, hey, I'll give you this, but you got to do something for me. More on that later. But that was my agreement. Like, fine, you get this, but you do this match for me. So he got the reign, 18 episodes, beat a bunch of people for it. Tried to establish him as a heel and really paint the picture that he's afraid of falling out of the spotlight. He's afraid of letting go, and I think that fits well with the character because he keeps coming back. The Hall of Famer keeps coming back for championships or accolades instead of just letting himself go and fade into legend, like all the other Hall of Famers who get that face reaction. Braden, it was originally Ricochet who was going to beat Harvey. I then popped up Braden, mainly because Harvey has been high on him and put him over in NXT, and he jumped on that. Was like, absolutely, let's try out Braden. Let's put over Braden. Braden ultimately won the championship from Harvey to become the United States champion. So it's his big moment, winning the title. I think that worked out to help solidify, or try to solidify Braden on the roster as well, utilizing Harvey for that, even though he ran through the whole roster, but that's besides the point. Harvey had a string of good matches, and ultimately that decision was made. Now, in terms of the exchange, like, you do this reign for me, he fights Scott Cole. That's the trade-off. Scott Cole's storyline has been going on for quite a while. He took off the mask last WrestleMania, or he lost it. And you see how he's wandering around, having voices in his head. And then he kind of fixes himself thanks to Classport elbowing him or knocking him out. But, whatever. So he goes to this craftsman, quote-unquote, that gifted him the mask. And apparently, long story short, the craftsman gives you a mask that empowers you gives you basically supernatural abilities like super strength, like makes you stronger than what you are normally. And it fits in with Bray Wyatt as well. It intertwines him, and it also adds to somebody else who I can't say yet because it hasn't happened. But ultimately, Scott Cole, he leaves to go find the mask, and ultimately, to meet the Craftsman and get his mask back. Ultimately, to explain, I keep saying to explain the motivations. The Craftsman gives them the mask, but there's a curse with it. You put on the mask, you are cursed with anytime you take it off, voices will plague your mind until you fulfill a promise. You receive the mask, but you have the promise to fight some person and beat them. It's just how it works. Like, fight me over it. Another rule is the only people that can take off your mask is yourself, the Craftsman, or other people who have received masks from the Craftsman before and had their own oaths. Bray Wyatt on Raw has kind of made it clear that Raymond is his person that he has to fight. For Scott Cole, if you watched Raw, he reveals that it's Harvey. So Harvey is the man he's supposed to beat. And then he also revealed that Paul Bearer is the Craftsman. Which I know what you're thinking. Paul Bearer's dead. Exactly. The idea is that we create some lore behind Scott Cole's mask. Same with Bray Wyatt and other characters. But it tries to intertwine these storylines at the end of the season and really try to knot it all up. And having Paul Bearer there, it kind of creates that mystical, like, what? This truly is the dark arts because he's actually dead. So they're communicating with a dead person? How? Like, it creates that fun little, like, creative storytelling where it's like, what? Okay. All right, so they communicated with a dead person. That's pretty interesting. Or you could think it's totally stupid. I don't know. But I really wanted, Scott and I, the maker of Scott Cole, and I threw this. It started building, and it turned into and it led to all this, this giant plot line. And he ultimately liked the idea. He liked the idea of creating a lore behind the mask and trying to make it all intertwined. I liked it too. It tells a bigger story with it, whether it's great or not. I think it's at least decent, and tries to connect everything. It's a little confusing, of course, trying to explain it to people. But I like it. I have fun with it. I really liked I really am enjoying doing this dark arts storyline, where we get to play with mythos and try to add some lore to universe mode and create our own narratives. I think that's a fun little thing that you can have fun with. But enough about that. So basically, Scott Cole sent him the message at the Royal Rumble. Going on to matchup number 4, the SmackDown Live Tag Team Championships. This was originally going to be matchup number 3. I swapped it, Harvey and Braden, only because of the attack. After the Hardcore Championship, I forgot to mention, EC3 attacked CM Punk, who's a member of the Cult of Drifters. I only made this, so I'll tell you this, I made this audible right after TakeOver. Yesterday. No. Not yesterday. Friday. The 28th? Yeah, the 28th. Just checking. Yeah, the 28th. So on the 28th, I decided instead of... My original concept was the Cult of Drifters was just going to take the titles back. I decided, you know what? Let's have EC3 and Austin Arrogance, who are members of the Dynasty under Class Par, as their leader, take out... Cult of Drifters, and then seize the tag team titles of SmackDown. Here's the thing. I'm a firm believer in that not all chaos is good when it comes to a chaotic card, but in terms of trying to establish dominance, like EC3 and Austin Arrogance, one of this, and I know you could pick it apart, you can nitpick the crap out of it and say, well, how the heck did they get a title shot if they're from NXT? Etc., etc. Well, if you take out them, they're there looking for the fight. Why are you going to say no? Like you could try to rationalize it. I'm just saying, like you could punch holes to these storylines that I write, especially impromptu ones like these. But ultimately, I went with the Dynasty beating the OC to become SmackDown Tag Team Champions, and now the whole faction of the Dynasty has 6 titles. EC3 holds 3 at once, the SmackDown and NXT Tag Team titles, the NXT Championship. Austin Arrogance holds the NXT Tag Team title and the SmackDown Tag Team title, and Clash 4 has the WWE Championship. If you can follow all of that, I'm impressed. So they have that. I wanted to give them a huge push to really validate the faction as like this rising thing. Also, this fits into the theme that I'll go into later with Claspar and Matt King, so I'll put a pin on it. And wait. After the match, Kyle O'Reilly was supposed to fight Adam Cole, Bebe, for the Intercontinental Championship in matchup number 5. Ultimately, that didn't happen because Kyle O'Reilly was attacked by the Masked Wrestler, who has continued to jump Adam Cole as of late. The Masked Wrestler then gets in the ring and wins the Intercontinental Championship from Adam Cole. Now, this does several things. I really wanted to draw interest to the fight because I knew I was screwing you guys over by not giving Kyle his big match here. That is personally speaking because I want to conclude the story at WrestleMania for Kyle O'Reilly. So I had to find a way to extend it that still drew hype. So Adam Cole lost the Intercontinental Championship. This gives us some build. Both he and Kyle O'Reilly are hurt now. And the Masked Wrestler is going to reveal himself on SmackDown. So ultimately, this is building Kyle's story to WrestleMania. Funny how all this started back at the previous WrestleMania. So we come full circle 55 episodes later with this long-term storyline, and I'm hoping these matches deliver with Kyle. I'm hoping that this storyline delivers and we get a satisfying ending. And here's the thing, people who don't understand the series or don't understand what's going on will look back and be like, what the heck was that? Why did you push Kyle so much? But for the people that were here along for the ride, have helped get this character over, and I appreciate everybody sticking by him to keep showing the support to make me keep pushing this character, and not for a world championship. It's great to have a mid-card champion and still focus on like all these this mid-card storyline as well as like all this stuff going on with the world championship. It creates more depth on the roster by having Kyle do stuff when he's not, or when he's around the Intercontinental Championship. It draws interest in the minor title of your brand. And here's the thing, his investment is simple. He wants the Intercontinental Championship, especially after he beat Brock Lesnar, or he lost to Brock Lesnar. And then Adam Cole, of course, took the title from Brock. Kyle beats Brock and thinks that, okay, I beat him. I can regain this title. Adam Cole giving him all this runaround. And it's all, like, that's why Kyle's obsessed with getting the Intercontinental Championship, because he's proved himself. He feels that he can be the champion again, because he beat the guy who beat him for the title. Simple as that. So he doesn't feel like he can move past it until he's at least gotten his rematch for that championship. So it's probably one of the most interesting storylines that I've done in Universe Mode. I'm so glad we get one on the final season, because it's drawn a lot of interest to SmackDown, and it's been a lot of fun. And of course, the Masked Wrestler is inserted there to help prolong the rivalry and also do some more interesting things. I can't elaborate more on that. But I received some help from them on writing that. All right, matchup number 6, Sante Guerrero versus Jeff Sanders. So this was a callback to their feud last season where Jeff Sanders and Sante fought at WrestleMania. Jeff Sanders got the win. Jeff Sanders also got screwed over because we wanted to add more depth to it. I was talking with Grudge, the guy who made Sante, and he requested to fight Jeff Sanders for this pay-per-view to do several things. Help Jeff Sanders, that's number 1. Sorry, I ripped up my voice. I'm sorry if that was loud. Number 2, give him a rivalry match that has has some interest for his championship fight. to help remember his reign. And 3, he wanted to avenge his loss from WrestleMania. So this was very much about trying to benefit both guys. Sante to validate his reign further, and for Jeff Sanders, it was to help elevate him even further. We also added some more heat into it, like Sante becomes team captain of Raw, names Jeff Sanders for the team on Survivor Series, and then Sante hires Jack McKay to take out Jeff Sanders. Jeff Sanders makes a deal with Jack to learn about it, and then he figures it out. He goes after Sante. So a little of that. I thought the match was good. A lot of these matches were good or alright. I think the Dynasty match was just straightforward domination over the OC because they weren't prepared, but all the matches were at least fairly good. 3, 4 stars, maybe, if I was ranking them. I think Sante and Jeff was a good street fight, but ultimately I think I'll get into it later. Ultimately, I think it was good. It was fun. It was a good warm-up match for the semi-main event, which was the WWE Championship. All right, semi-main event, WWE Championship, Matt King and Class Par. It's going to be long-winded. Basically, the rivalry building up to this has been long. It started all the way back in the first SmackDown of the season. Class Par hired Jack McKay to take out Kevin Draco. We learn over time that Class Par's reasoning when he wins the Money in the Bank briefcase, etc., is that he knows Matt King's retiring at the end of the season. Matt King's ability is fading, so he feels that somebody needs to replace him. He feels that role has fallen to him because he's good friends with Matt King. Kevin Draco, ultimately, he views as the direct threat to that. He doesn't feel that Kevin Draco should ever be the man to succeed him. He feels that the fans have always seen Kevin Draco as the next Matt King. It's become this twisted obsession of his to try to prevent Kevin Draco from ever fighting Matt King. Ultimately, Kevin Draco gets revenge on Class Par, changes his name temporarily. More details on that. It's more in depth than that, but Class Par cashes in his briefcase, won the championship by the way, disrupting Matt King and Kevin Draco's match before the result is decided. This is because Class Par, once again, he was worried that Matt King was going to lose clean to Kevin Draco and put him over and step aside. So by doing that, he prevents that from happening. And his obsession is now, after he won the championship, has become obsessed with validating his faction as the best, as well as declaring himself the man to replace Matt King. He is the new Matt King. So his obsession has gone this far. He beats Kevin Draco and he proves that, listen, I'm better than your supposed successor. He won't succeed you. And then he tries to provoke Matt King into fighting him on the last SmackDown by revealing his big secret, how Matt King got his knee brace. Matt King doesn't really take the bait to it. At the end of the show, the last SmackDown before the Rumble, they go back and forth, and ultimately Matt King's basically the message I was trying to convey to the audience. And I don't know if I did it the best of ways. I really tried to write out that script. I was emotional writing it. I could have probably rewritten it in certain occasions. But basically, Class Par was going completely insane, off the rails, saying how being the champion, being the man to replace Matt King means more to him than even being Matt King's friend. And Matt King was basically saying, listen, Class Par, if you want all this, then you're going to sacrifice our friendship by going down this path, this obsession to decide my future, to decide how my story ends. Class Par is so insane, basically said, listen, you can keep your Rumble spot, because Matt King made the excuse that he can't fight because he's in the Rumble. You can keep your spot if you lose to me. And ultimately, Matt King only agreed because he feels that Class Par needs closure. They've already fought twice. Class Par has beaten him twice. And Matt King felt that if he beat Class Par and became WWE champion again, then Class Par would just self-destruct in this insane obsession of his. But if Class Par won, then whether he approved it or not, or is happy about it, Claspar ultimately will come to the realization that there's that sad feeling in your gut that you have everything but really have nothing. Like you burned a bridge with your former tag team partner to get all this. Like this obsession has gone this far, and ultimately you never got the result you wanted. You didn't stop Matt King from pursuing his own path. And to emphasize the point, I had the Dynasty win all this gold. Now they have 6 championships. And then Claspar, I kind of did a narrative over the victory of Claspar in the match, where he basically helps Matt King up, shakes his hand, and then low blows him. And then a quick promo after basically saying that Matt King was right. Matt King was right about that sinking feeling in his gut that he might have just beaten Matt King, and Matt King won't ever fight again for the world title. He might not have been the man to end Matt King's career, but he's now the catalyst for Matt King's ending. Because Matt King no longer has a rematch. One-on-one rematch clause for the championship. So there's that. And also, I wanted to do some more in-depth themes because it was a callback to, and I've been planning this match since the start of the season. That's how far back I've had this planned. This match happening. Like Claspar being WWE champion, having this match at the Rumble. I had no idea how we'd get here, but I knew that was the goal I wanted to take, and I built this storyline to try to involve people and get a lot of interest into the SmackDown show, and really build around these characters to try to build a narrative conclusion for myself, and try not to make WrestleMania all about me, because I really am under the philosophy that I've told people this, I've told several people this, I'd rather not be at WrestleMania at all this season. I'd rather my character Matt King isn't at Mania at all. Or I'd rather have that than take somebody else's spot, or a potential spot on being in the card who deserves it or needs it more. So I'm willing to sacrifice all that. I really am at that point where I'm willing to sacrifice all of it and not even be at Mania. I'm undecided on that. I still haven't figured it out yet or made my decision on it. It's something I have to make a decision on, but ultimately, I didn't want. That's where my head's at right now. And plus, I don't even know who I'm fighting, but whatever. Or even if I'll have a match. I don't think I will have a match, but whatever. I don't think I'm fighting anyone. I think I'm willing to step aside, but so that might very well mark the last time Matt King ever fights for a world championship. I think it was a phenomenal match. It wasn't as long as what I wanted it to. It was like a 12-minute, 10-minute fight that was so good from bell to bell. Gosh dang it, I wish it lasted longer because it was so good. But I guess you could say it was bittersweet. It was short, but so good at the same time. And it ended with a signature out of nowhere, too, which was epic. It was awesome. That match was fun. I'd give it 4 stars at the very least. With the storyline, such a big storyline, the match almost needed it to be longer just to fulfill it. But at the same time, I loved the match. If it was a standalone, I think it would still be great. Like if there was no storyline attached, I think it would be fantastic. In terms of our trilogy, Panda, I had fun. I think every match delivered in some shape or form. For us, I personally believe none of the 3 matches finished under 4 stars with our 3 fights. And it was fun. I really had fun putting you over all 3 times. It was good. I always had this plan to put you over one more time here to validate your reign, but have this storyline involved. And ultimately, one more thing before I get into the Rumble match. One of the other subtle details of this storyline was, and I don't know if people got it or have gotten it, but it's a callback to several other things. Ultimately, it's the realization that Matt King's character is my story, and my series is built around him. And I've had people really try to make suggestions or like, oh, The fans won't like it if you do this or do that. And I'm not here to throw anybody under the bus, and I won't do that because that's messed up. Plus, I was asking for their opinions, so I just disagreed with it strongly. Is they had more of an polar opposite philosophy of what I have when it comes to my character for this Mania. But ultimately, my underlying detail is nobody outside of myself should dictate the end of my character. My character has been and I'm not trying to put myself up because I feel like this makes me sound so arrogant. But nobody, like, the whole series has been centered around him. He is the main character, whether he is the focal point of a storyline or not, or the world champion or not. He is the main character of the story because he's the reason why I'm doing it. I'm just telling all these other stories with all these other... I'm treating it as a show, but he's the main character. That's why the series is ending when he's retiring. So... one of the underlying details is you all can have your own vision of how Mad King should go out, but ultimately I have mine, and what matters is that I feel satisfied with how my career ends. Heck, right now I feel satisfied by not even fighting at Mania and letting everybody else have their moments at Mania. That's where I'm at. I'm literally not even phased. I've had my moments at Mania. I've been a two-time, like, my character has been a two-time one-time Royal Rumble winner. I'm the only guy to main event 2 WrestleManias. I've won several championships. I wish I could have done certain things differently, but I've had so much fun doing it that I'm honestly content and won't even be bothered if I'm not even at Mania or even fight at it. I'm at the point where I don't care. I want to benefit, or I want to really do a service to all you guys and really give a show meant for you guys. And if it means not being on the card, I'm willing to do that. I want to give it all up. As much as that might be painful for some people who care about my character and want to see an end, I literally view that way. I've always tried to view it that way, like you guys come first before me. And whenever I do, I'm always, before I even touch the world title, I'm thinking, what's going to happen? Who am I putting over? Who does this benefit other than myself? Because I never want to make it seem like I'm trying to make it all about me or I'm trying to be the best on the show. I really want to give everybody else a chance. And that's what it is here. I didn't want to steal anything from Claspar. I love him being a heel, and he is set up for somebody else who I won't go into. But now that his storyline's done with me, it is about moving forward with him and accepting the fact that I am done. Like, he's burned his bridge with me, and he has to live with that. He has to live with the fact that he burned the relationship between us. And it's about who he's up against next. As for me, that's it. That might be the end for me. Could very well be done. That might actually be my last match. I haven't made the decision. Or what I will say is, yeah, I just understand that Matt King's story is my story, and as long as I'm content with it, I'm not going to be bothered if people disagree or agree with how I write my character for the end. Ultimately, what matters is I'm happy with it. Although I still want to give a satisfying ending for all of you people, it's just I needed to shift my mindset. Okay, I can't appease everybody with how I'm ending my character. I'm going to try to appease everybody with the rest of the card, but I want to plan out my ending, how it's going to go. And screw what everybody else thinks. I'm going to write it to the best of my ability on what I want to do. All the promos, all the emotional speeches might not have gotten me emotional there. Actually, it did. After Claspar delivered his line to the Rumble, I did actually sweat through my eyes, but that's besides the point. Wow, this video is really long. 34 minutes. Alright. If you guys have any more questions, fire down below if I missed anything. But the Royal Rumble match itself, I will say this. I had a lot of tinkering with this card. Ultimately, I will tell you this. Grudge put in his input, and he was the one that suggested Prince Metallico. Along with myself. I basically gave him a list of people who I was thinking about, Prince Metallico being one of them. I think it was like 5 names. I wish I wrote it down because I didn't. like the other four, but Prince Metallico was like the first name out of my mouth. Grudge immediately was just like Prince. Got to do Prince. And I can't tell you whether Prince is going to challenge him or somebody or the other world champion. I'm not going to tell you that because there's all this other stuff. I really have to wait to talk about any of that further. But Prince has been the decision since before SummerSlam. Prince has always been the guy that I was planning. Actually, even around Money in the Bank, if I had to put a date on it, yeah, right around there was when I made the decision he'd win the Rumble. And then it was about adding all this other stuff. I wanted to kick off the match with fan service. So Mr. Samuel and Matt King starting off. That was a callback to when he and I fought at Season 3's Royal Rumble for the WWE Championship. Tyler Wolf comes in, and we have our little original three pillars. Jackson Wolf comes in, so you get the brothers. Then it kind of turns into a Royal Rumble again for a little bit with Balor, AJ, Elias, Dream. Then you get Galerto. And then every single Rumble he's always been in, there's always been a Yuri or Haruto, the father or son, that have been right along with him, paired up like either right after him or right before him. So the Hall of Famer Yuri Yamashita came back. Both of them have had rivalries, came around the same time in Universe Mode as well. They're two of my original characters. Out of the original, it was like Matt King, Samuel Armstrong, Yuri, and Adrian. Those were like the original four that I made. But Mr. Samuel, of course, and Tyler Wolf made by two other guys who started the series with me. So we're the original six. So both of them are in it. So you get another Hall of Famer in there, a little fan service again. Jamie then comes in, Bruce Bennett acting like a good little heel, taking out Elias. Elias even did a low blow on someone, I can't remember, but that was fun. Panda erupted for that. Bruce Bennett being a heel eliminated Elias. Elias has some of our funniest moments in the Rumble, as well as one of the most iconic WWE title wins. But probably our best one-hit wonder world champion in terms of like ultimate underdog. But he gets chucked out of the ring. Tyler Wolf was our Iron Man. He's the GM of SmackDown, and Mr. Samuel being the GM of NXT. Tyler Wolf was the Iron Man, ties Braden McLaughlin's record with 6 eliminations, and was in the Rumble for 18 minutes and 41 seconds. The original 3 actually got quite a while in the Rumble, like 7 minutes, but whatever. After Bruce Bennett, it was Colt Lee, Adam Cole, the unlucky 14, out in 26 seconds. Colt Lee. Number 15 was Samuel Armstrong, one of my original 6. Rogue Killer followed up, and this was the fun part. I'm going to talk about this. Samuel Armstrong, Rogue Killer. I'm still undecided on who I'm having Armstrong fight at Mania, but Rogue Killer has always been a strong contender who I've wanted to at least step in the ring with him. If it was my choice, Rogue would have fought him last season, but that's besides the point. I thought, why not tease it just to see how people react? And then right afterwards, Slim Reaper, Rogue Killer's former partner in the legendary Hitman tag team, returns. Both of them were in there for like 2 minutes, just over 2 minutes each, but it was fun. Panda erupted for it. Here's the great thing. I'll let people know about this. It was probably around Survivor Series when people were requesting it, and I told them no. Or I told him that I would speak to him about it, but I ultimately told you guys that he said no. Kind of, I think. I can't remember my exact words. But any chance you guys got, I tried to shut it down and basically say, nope, not happening. It's not happening. It's not happening. Don't ask for it. Ultimately, when I spoke to him, he's at the point where he doesn't watch the series anymore, so he didn't really care either way. So he basically told me, listen, dude, if you want to do that, go for it. So it doesn't really matter to me, so it's up to you if you want to put in the time to do all that. I jumped on the chance because, heck yeah, you guys were fully for it. You guys turned into kind of a running joke, but I actually pulled the trigger. It was also to see if I wanted to give them a little fan service run. Tune in for Raw to find out. Mac Allen from the former team known as the New Divine made his official in-ring return. I forgot I dorked up the gear. I was trying to do that as his first showcase of his new gear. That'll be NXT now. Randy Orton came in, Ricochet, James Arlington, Kevin Owens, Jeff Sanders, who we worked into a storyline. I accidentally botched that. He wasn't supposed to be in it. That was a dork up on my part, but we've turned it into a storyline where he actually attacked Gargano to take that spot. More on that on SmackDown. Blake Daniels came in. Ace, Kevin Draco, Alex Carter, Tyler Bate, and then Prince Metallica came in at 29, and then I tried to chuck everybody out. I tried to go with people. I know Alex Carter was the other guy I considered. I think it was Prince Metallica and Alex were definitely the two that I was really thinking about, and Draco, those three. Now that I think about it, those three I really thought about winning the Rumble, mainly because I really like Alex Carter, one of my characters. Kevin Draco has always been amazing. He's been so loyal to this series, and he's never won. He's 0-5 at WrestleMania, and he's never main evented, and is arguably the best face next to me in terms of like organically face. That's what I mean. I'm not trying to diss anybody, which I apologize if I did. But Austin Arrogance was last. I wanted to do somebody outside of number 30, and at the same time, I also wanted to do a callback to the first WrestleMania, or the first Royal Rumble, where Panda got dorked over by losing to Shinsuke in the final two. This was a little bit of a callback to that, where his Class Parts protege gets dorked over by somebody else, except I think this time, like, it can be overshadowed, like, Prince Metallico can overshadow that, so much so that it's like, you know what, whatever, it's Prince, that's awesome. For a lot of, or at least for some of the fans, I was hoping that would be the case. Prince wins the Royal Rumble and is heading toward Mania. I really like this match. I think it is my favorite Royal Rumble match itself, just because there's so much fan service, there's so much that went into it, so much planning, so much behind-the-scenes stuff, keeping Slim Reaper a secret, doing the original Pillar stuff, and even just within the match. I missed some of the spots because I kept looking down at the comments. There's some really cool spots, some eliminations that I missed on my calls. I wish I called it better, but holy cow, it was awesome. I absolutely loved the whole thing, and it was, out of all the 7, I think it was my favorite, and I'm content with it. I'm glad that people liked the pick. I was so worried that nobody would like Prince. I tried to keep it on a lid that he would win the Rumble. Didn't even want to hint it to anybody because I was worried that you guys would turn on it or you guys would figure it out. So I just decided to pull the trigger without asking you guys, just banking on the fact that you would. So thank you. Thank you for that. That made it all the better. But yeah, we'll have to see how Elimination Chamber goes. That's in 3 episodes, so stay tuned for that. But that's all. I hope I can upload all this to you guys. But if I missed anything or you guys want to talk about anything, fire away down in the comments. I'm sorry for how long it is. There was a lot to talk about. It was so much fun to do this show. If you guys want to talk about anything, hit the comments. I'm willing to discuss anything about the Rumble that happened there, or anything about it. But ultimately, if I didn't cover any questions or you have any, get that fire down there as well. Leave a like and subscribe to the channel, of course, if you wish. You don't have to, but ultimately, the most important phrase that I always say at the very end is suit up, Mad Army. Thank you all, and I hope to see you next time.